Man, I gotta tell you, it's hard doing a lost podcast. It's even harder doing a lost podcast when we get absolutely blown to smithereens.
Yeah.
All right.
I we luckily, if we ever had to do one, it was because we won.
Yeah.
So
Those are the days. All right.
tomorrow's slate's kind of mid. Well, Alabama's playing Kentucky. That's
We're gonna find out which of those teams is any good real fast.
Tennessee, Arkansas. That's pretty good.
I like the way our schedule's shaping up for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri's that we could talk about in a minute, but yeah, sheesh, you're right. At least the first four games are pretty manageable. Well, Arkansas is gonna be tough.
Maybe Arkansas's got the size to give us a lot of trouble, but I don't know that they're a complete team. I feel the same way about them that I kind of feel about Florida. I'm like, I don't really know what to expect from them. Let's see here. Virtual Taylor's Corner.
Michigan is an absolute machine. They're beating USC by 30 right now.
I cannot believe that we did not pay for Yaxel. That's just crazy to me.
Well, we tried.
Yeah, they said our starting offer was $1 million. Didn't we pay three for Janai last year?
No, we paid 600,000.
That was it for Janai Broom. Oh
The
man, what a steal!
They were locked into these deals essentially. I mean, the market just keeps going up. That's the thing.
Yeah,
And so yeah, Janai and others took less to come back and essentially have the season that we had.
and man, was it worth it? All right, everything's blasted out. I don't know if anybody's going to join us, but let's get this so on the road.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to the Jungle Auburn podcast. It was a non-conference to I don't want to say forget because we would be remiss to not celebrate the incredible schedule that we were able to put together once again. We used to dream of playing teams like this, and even though it may have turned out to be a little bit of a nightmare, your boy Ben is finally not alone anymore. Ryan Storm and Norman is back on the Jungle Auburn podcast to talk SEC preview. Ryan, how are you?
Ben, it's good to be back. We're sorry that you've had to do a lot of these by yourself,
No, you're not.
especially especially when they're blowouts, when there's not much analysis to be had. And so let's just talk hoops tonight. Let's talk ball. Let's talk the start of SEC play is always so fun, right? Because there's so many unknowns. You get good matchups, you get a good slate. Uh, and so I'm excited to talk about what could be happening, what we don't know, what we do know, and also reflect on the crazy non-con schedule uh, that we had to endure and go through and find a lot about ourselves and still finding out a lot about ourselves. So should be an interesting conversation talking about all those different things.
At the very least, but we would be remiss if we did not talk first about the game that we owe the fans a review and an MVP on Auburn's final match of the non con. Burgomaster doing an incredible job of continuing to stack these schedules. Queens University out of Charlotte, North Carolina, not Queens College in New York, as I found out when we suited up to play them. They were projected to win the A-Sun this year. So on paper, it looked like it might be a pretty good matchup, but in reality, Auburn walked away with a 41-point victory in Neville Arena, the most get right of get right games, 106-65. We had three players top 20 points in that game. Oh, not quite. Keyshawn Hall was close, but he just had another 18-5-5 game. Ryan, let's talk MVPs for the final game against Queens College.
Yeah, you're right. It was a good get right game. Queens shoots very well and they shoot a lot of threes and they could not get a shot off. which was crazy. Just given the fact that we've given a lot of teams really wide open looks, especially a lot of these good teams. So it shows that this team is coachable. They're learning, they're adjusting. I've got to go with Elijah Freeman. I mean, the guy had 27 points. He's starting to find himself a little bit, starting to find a little bit of a role coming off the bench. I think that suits him really well. And, he's kind of hopefully he's trying to hit a little bit of a stride right when we need him the most coming into SEC play. So I got to go with Elijah Freeman. I mean, he was making buckets. He was around the rim. He was active. He had a sick alley-oop. I think it was kind of like a reverse. So I've got to go with Elijah Freeman.
Yeah, Elijah Freeman led all scorers with 27 points on the night. He was 9 of 13 from the floor, but a perfect 4 of 4 from deep. And he, of course, in a stat after my own heart, was 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He grabbed 3 boards, that assist Ryan mentioned, the steal. Elijah Freeman at 6'7", the D2 demon, when he realizes that he's the best guy on the floor, he just attacks. And you're right, changing to come off the bench and letting Sebastian Williams Adams get the start at the 4 has made a huge difference in his game. He's been much more electric, coming in with that second unit, having a chance to watch the game develop a little bit. But for my money, it's not about the scoring column today, because Auburn has struggled with its assist to basket ratio all season. And prior to the game, Stephen Pearl came out and told Todd Pettiford that his assist to turnover ratio was 106th in the country. And Todd Pettiford took that personally and came out dishing 9 assists for a career high. He continues to struggle shooting in Neville Arena. I don't know what the deal is. Steven's been trying to figure that out too. So he only added 6 points on 1 of 5 shooting from deep, 1 of 8 from the field, but 9 assists, 2 steals, 4 rebounds. He stuffed the rest of the stat sheet. Ryan, do we maybe have a recipe with Tahad becoming more of a pass first point guard?
Maybe. I found it interesting that he did become, he wasn't looking for a shot at all, I felt like. And I think he's just still trying to figure out what it's like to be a number one player point guard on a team where the offense runs through you. We talked so much at nauseum last year about just how good of a fit he was on that team because there were so many other options people were looking at that it just gave him the opportunity to do basically score at will, essentially. Um, so this year it's been we're trying to see a different version of Tahad. I think we started to see one the other night. And so I don't know how much we can win with him doing that because we're going to need his scoring. We're going to need those type of games that we saw like against St. John's, that we saw against Arizona, where he's putting up 30, close to 30 of those games. We're going to need that at some point in SC play. But expanding that game and becoming more of a floor general is something that we've missed. We've turned the ball over so much. We've just had lazy passes, lazy execution. So if he's gonna set that example, then maybe that's a good start. And maybe we could see more of that coming over the next couple games.
Unless we forget, Todd Pettiford once again joined the block party. Auburn finished with 9 blocks, 10 turnovers, but 22 assists. So 22 assists on 35 made baskets. That ratio is a lot closer to where we want it to be. We mentioned Keyshawn Hall had 18, 5, and 5. He was 50% from deep. He was 6 of 10 from the floor. And Kevin Overton has emerged as a real number 3 scoring option behind what we thought was going to be Keyshawn Hall and Todd Pettiford. But really, lately it's been Keyshawn Hall and Elijah Freeman. Kevin Overton, 23 points tonight, 5 of 7 from deep. As we've gone into the later parts of non-conference play, he's really been on that escalator that Jackson loves to talk about of starting to accelerate as we get into conference play. Can Kevin Overton be a difference maker for this team?
I didn't really know what to expect with him coming in this year. I think he's probably been, if when we talk about kind of a non-conference review, he's been my surprise because I didn't know what to expect, and he's got just such a funky shot. But when he's in rhythm, it goes in. And there's been multiple games at home, like NC State, like Queens, where if we rotate the ball well and he's open in the corner, it's going down. Um, we can't have those type of games from him where he just completely disappears. Like against all those teams that we faced early on, he would completely disappear. And it hurt us a lot. Um, I think the more this team is getting comfortable playing themselves, the more they're finding their role, the more we're starting to find out what everybody's good at, right? We're still learning about this team, and this
Oh
team's
yeah.
still learning about themselves. So Kevin being the type of shot maker that we need at certain points has been a big surprise to me, honestly. Um, I'm not saying he's like a Miles Kelly, but we need those type of players in this type of offense to do well. And he's been the past few games, the past few weeks has kind of been a knockdown guy when the ball gets to the corner. So I don't know. I don't know, in terms of scoring options, like him contributing that way is going to be a difference maker in a lot of these games for us, like it was against NC State.
Yeah, I mean he was a huge factor in two of our blowout losses where he kind of got overshined. But 20 plus points against Arizona, 20 plus points against Purdue, even against some good defenses. He's 6'5", 200 pounds. He's got a big body. He's ready for that conference play grind. But you know what, Ryan? When you talk about a guy that made the transition to becoming a bench player and coming off the bench and just providing a spark, that is something that is a trademark of the Pearl program, is having that guy in that second unit that is electric. For us, it's Elijah Freeman. And for the Queen's University game, Elijah Freeman, take your crown and enjoy your jungle MVP. But Ryan, let's talk about the SEC schedule that Auburn has coming up. We're going from the grind of the non-con straight into the brutal grind of another year with a deep, deep SEC. First up, Auburn's going to be traveling on the road to number 23, 12-1 Georgia. So a rivalry basketball game to tip off. They're following that with homestands against Texas A&M and Arkansas. Auburn then travels to Missouri, has a home game against South Carolina before going on the road for two straight games at Ole Miss and at number 22 Florida. So once again, Auburn has the opportunity to break the Gainesville curse. We'll see if this team can do it. Auburn has Texas at home and finishes the month of January at Rocky Top, taking on number 19 Tennessee. Month of February rolls in, and Auburn has got to come out of the gate swinging in the shortest month of the year. They've got Alabama at home in the Iron Bowl of basketball. Alabama's currently 10-3 and ranked 14th. They're not going to get a night off because on Tuesday of that week, they're going to take on number 11 Vanderbilt, the analytics darling of the non-conference for the SEC. They have absolutely been shooting up the ranking boards, but Auburn's very lucky. They're going to get Vanderbilt in Neville Arena. Then in the second matchup against Arkansas, they're going on the road. Arkansas, Alabama, and Ole Miss are the three teams that we're going to play twice this season. Auburn's on the road at Mississippi State. So Keyshawn Murphy's homecoming back to Starkville. Then Auburn gets Kentucky at home, Oklahoma on the road, Ole Miss at home, and finishes March with a homestand against LSU, and will end the regular season in the airplane hangar of Coleman Coliseum against mighty Alabama in the rematch of the IBOB of basketball. Ryan, with only one quad one victory on Auburn's resume right now, how many wins does it take to get us in the tournament?
That's a great question.
It is a great question. That's why I asked it.
I would say, honestly, going 500. I mean, we're comfortably in right now, riding on that 7-8 line, and I think if we win tomorrow against Georgia on Saturday, that's just going to continue to layer us up on the seed line. Um, there aren't a lot of quad one opportunities out there right now, which, last year that's all we were doing is getting quad one opportunities, which kind of lets us know that the SEC may be not as strong as it was last year, which is a fair argument to had. But I would say, 500 is going to get you in. But that's a great question. I don't know
I mean, Ryan,
exactly.
let's talk about Jackson loves to have us talk about Auburn's homestand, right? Auburn continues to have 64 consecutive non-conference victories at home. But Ryan, take a look at who we've got to play in Neville Arena this year. Texas A&M, number 18 Arkansas, number 14 Alabama, number 11 Vanderbilt, and of course mighty Kentucky, who is unranked but 9-4. They've also got to win over St. John's. It's hard to tell just how good this Kentucky team is going to be. But Ryan, Those are 4 or 5 games that could very easily go the wrong way for us.
They could, and that's why jumping off to a good start tomorrow is important in getting the fans engaged, which I will say, after getting blown out in a couple of these big games, I was expecting a very sparse crowd against Queens at 9 p.m. on a weeknight, and it was packed. And so I think the fans still want to see good basketball. They still believe in this team. So I think you're going to see Neville at the level that it's usually at, because it's very easy to be apathetic when you see us lose like we lost in three of those big time games. I would say 8 to 9 wins will comfortably get you in to the tournament this year.
Well,
Uh,
speaking of getting things started off on a good foot, we're going to get this podcast started on a good foot. Whose music do I hear? Is that Jackson Danger Garrett rejoining the Jungle Auburn podcast?
on mute too. That's what's
Oh, he's rusty, folks. You're going to
oh
have to give
wow.
Jackson another picture.
War Eagle! My mic
There he
was
is.
off. The mic's been off for a while, but here I am. I don't know hardly anything that's happening this year, but maybe my ignorance can help guide the podcast a bit. Maybe I can ask some questions to see what's going on. Maybe I can be the everyman that didn't pay attention like we usually do.
I think that's probably a good idea. I also think it's worth noting that I kind of tend to agree with Ryan here. This has been Matt's philosophy. You go 500 in the SEC against these quality competitions you're in. You're probably on that 8-9 seed line. But guess what that means? That means your second matchup is going to be against a number 1 seed. And we have seen how Auburn has looked against 3 teams that are absolutely contending for number 1 seeds right now: Purdue, Arizona, and Michigan. So if this Auburn team wants to hit its ceiling and get to the Sweet 16, they really do not want to be on that 8-9 line. Jackson, you haven't gotten to watch a ton of Auburn basketball in the non-con. What are your impressions of this team as the everyman?
I mean, from the little I got to watch and the stats I've seen and the highlights I've seen, it feels like we've got like one of those Arkansas teams under Musselman from the past years where we've got like a bunch of transfers. They're not gelling necessarily. They're talented. The offense looks good, but maybe they're not playing great defense. Like we'll see. I wanted to ask you guys because of that. It feels like everybody's pretty happy that there's talent there, but it's maybe not playing like super disciplined. We've seen some great disciplined teams over the last 2 or 3 years with some great leadership, and this one feels a lot like an AAU team. And I wanted to hear if you guys think that we could be like one of those Arkansas teams that gels right at the end and gets hot and does something in the tournament. Do we have that kind of firepower?
I It's going to depend on our matchups. Like this team, I still think that we're going to be very good in the SEC play, because the SEC this year, like, it's not going to get any better than what we played against Purdue, Arizona, Michigan. Like those, I personally feel like the NCAA tournament is going to be a lot like last year. It's going to be pretty chalky in terms of who goes to the Final Four, just because they're just head and shoulders better than everyone else. So then there's that next tier, and there's the next tier, and I think we're like in that third tier where like we're gonna beat good teams, but when we play a great team that's just they got a big man that's really good, then we're toast. Which you've seen, like we've won every game that we have played teams that have, not a they have size, but they don't have size that can score. If we play a team that has size that can score, you can go ahead and chalk that up as an L. Um, but yes, it's going to be all about matchups. I think last game, what was very encouraging to me is that we have not been healthy at all. Like we've been very banged up. We've been moving slow, especially Keyshawn Murphy. He finally looked like he was moving normally against Queens, but him not being healthy, and then you got a Porium that went down out for the year. Like that has really messed us up and really taken things out, and got has people playing out of position. We could gel eventually. I think we have the scoring. We definitely have the ability to score. It's just, can we get stops, and do we have a guy that can get a stop when we need it, which we had in the past. I don't know if we have that this year.
We've seen it a couple of times this season against St. John's, who Zuby Ejiofor was one of the best front court players in America coming into the season. St. John's was expected to be at the top of the Big East. We know Oregon brought in another big guy. They had a big 7-foot tree. We were able to manage our way against both of those teams. And honestly, same thing against Houston. Houston's got a couple of stud freshmen, but their front court is where they were bringing back a ton of their experience. We won 2 out of 3 of those games, but what got us beat against the top tier talent that we played has been their ball movement and our defensive discipline. And I think that's where this team has really started to struggle with how much Keyshawn Murphy has been hurt, with Oporum no longer being on the team, no 7-footer coming off the bench. When we go to Filip Jovic at the 5, and our biggest guy out there is 6'8" with him and Sebastian Williams Adams, it's just tough. And guys are over helping, they're over rotating, and they're leaving guys wide open on the wing. And a lot of that is just starting to trust each other and playing good Pearl defense. And we haven't seen a ton of that. And when we don't, teams make us pay for it. We lost all 3 of those games in what Justin Ferguson always calls the middle 8, right? Between the 12-minute mark in the first half and the 16-minute mark in the first half and the 16-minute mark to start the second half. That 8-minute swing right there is where we lost all of those games because we were working to get the score down, get it under 10. They pushed it to double digits, and then they pushed it to double digits again in the second half. So if Matt were here, he'd say we let go of the rope, right?
Well, and to be fair, I mean, these teams that we got blown out against, they all either brought back most of their roster or added on to what they had.
Yeah.
We're playing dudes that have never played this level before, and we're throwing it in there saying, essentially good luck. And it's gone the way that it's gone because of that. And so that's why I'm still like, we still don't know. We know a lot about this team, but we still don't. Like, that's why when I playing like Georgia, A&M, Arkansas, Missouri, I think that's going to give us a better understanding of what this team can do throughout the rest of SEC play. Like, I would love for us to be 3-1 after that. I think it's very attainable. Anything less than 2-2, I think it's gonna be tough. But
are there any teams that, it sounds like there's some juggernaut teams like we were last year. Like
correct.
if you had a weakness on your team, like a bad weakness, we were going to expose it and we were going to blow you out. Sounds like we're that team this year. Is there a team that reminds you from last year that was like, oh, they had, they just turned a whole roster over. They got some talent, but there's a weakness and we just exploit it. Is there a team that like reminds you of us?
Michigan,
yeah.
Their front court is insane. They've got tons of experience at the guard. Part of the reason why Trey Donaldson transferred out was bringing in Elliot Kadu from North Carolina to sort of be the steadying hand for them. And honestly, Arizona's been looking a little bit that way too. Arizona's front court is incredibly, incredibly dominant, and they force you to find a different shot than the one that you want.
It seems like the guy this year, from what I gather, is Keyshawn Murphy, right? Is that right? No, sorry, Keyshawn Hall is the guy. Right. Like he can score anywhere. He's that guy I've been waiting for. He plays the 3, right? And then we've got Pettiford, who has the 1. He's a very talented guy, but like you guys were saying, has not been scoring quite like we thought. Like, are there any other good guys on this team? Like, are those the 2 main guys we're going to? Like, is there a sharpshooter at 3 I should be looking out for?
Well,
Ryan, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like what Ben and I were talking about earlier, Kevin Overton has become a guy that has really come up offensively. We didn't really know what to expect from him. He was a Texas Tech transfer. I had no idea what to really expect from him, and he's turned out to be quite the scorer when we need him to be. I mean, he's had quite a few 20-point games. NC State he had 30. I mean, we've got some guys that when they start getting hot, they can really get hot. That's really it. I mean, you've got Keyshawn Hall. You've got Tahad. You got Kevin Overton. Elijah Freeman can essentially be a guard if you need him to be. And then, coming off the bench, Caden Magwood is still trying to figure out what he needs to do at this level defensively and really offensively too. And so, he's still a year or 2 away from really being someone that contributes a lot, but he can get a basket and he can hit a shot when he needs to. Other than that, like Simon Walker I don't really know how much he's going to play in SEC play, but he's starting to get a little comfortable out there. Our bench from a guard position is what we're going to be, I think, in some games is going to hurt us a little bit in just terms of depth and scoring.
And particularly on the defensive end. I mean, Keyshawn Hall has been an amazing scorer. He's averaging 20 points a game right now. 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists. But his defense, and some of this has been that he's been injured, right? We have to remember that he is playing something like almost 33 minutes a game right now. So we're putting heavy minutes on the big guard's legs. And he's 6'7", 225, but he's missed some time due to injury, and it seems like it's caused him to lose a little bit of a step defensively, in part because he has been living at the free throw line and he's been making a ton of his free throws. But perhaps most impressively, Jackson, you want to take a wild guess at what Keyshawn Hall is shooting from three?
I know he's good, so I know he's been shooting well. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say 41.5%.
Oh, Jackson, right on the money.
I've got the stats pulled up.
You must have been gambling in the offseason. Yeah.
No, it looks like
Keyshawn
Florida
Hall
was shooting well, 35% on the team, which is great. But I was looking at the KenPom, 15th, I think, in the nation on offense and 80th on defense, it seems. So yeah, we are shooting well. We're just letting the other team shoot well as well, it seems.
Yeah, Ryan and I have been talking about that a little bit, about our inability to close out at the 3-point line. We had a get-right game against Queens University. That was the last game of the non-con, and it was probably our best defensive effort. They were a little bit undersized, but what was impressive was they're a team that lives at the 3-point line, and we were finally closing out, guarding those shots. So if that's something that we can continue into SEC play, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
It doesn't look like, from looking down our schedule, that anybody's a big juggernaut. Like you said, we got blown out by the top 10 teams, even top 5 teams, number 1 team. But looking on the schedule, the highest ranked team in the SEC is at 11 with Vanderbilt, surprisingly.
Vanderbilt is an analytics darling, man. They've had a pretty good non-con, all things considered. But honestly, the juggernaut of the SEC, I hate to say it, it's that team from up the road, man. Alabama's once again just got shooters all over the floor. They're playing that fast and loose run and gun.
Hate it.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
Number
Aiden
2
Holloway,
offense in KenPom, it says, for Alabama. Stop it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them being good.
Aiden Holloway continuing to have sort of a renaissance for himself there.
Oh, yeah. No. Matt's going to rub it in our faces for being wrong about Aiden here if he's really starting to turn into a star.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt's really coasting off a big victory over St. Mary's. They won on the road against Memphis. But beyond that, they haven't played anybody too impressive. Alabama has played a pretty tough non-con, as have Florida and Kentucky. But Florida, Kentucky, and us are pretty
Wait, what's going on with Florida? Florida's brought everybody back, I thought.
Well, they brought their whole backcourt. They basically turned everybody over at the guard position, and it hadn't really worked out the way that they thought it was going to.
Yeah, they went out and got Boogie Clan from Arkansas, and he has not been panning out for them.
It also just shows that Walter Clayton was just an absolute freak. And I will have nightmares of him for the rest of my life.
We learned. I've been saying it for years. You just got to have that guy that can take over a game. And hey, to be fair, it seems like we've got a guy like that. It seems like maybe we didn't fill out the rest of the roster super great, but Keyshawn Hall, is he that guy? Is he one of those guys, like a top 10 guy in college basketball?
We've got a couple of guys that can. I mean, that NC State game that I was at, just those guys were hitting shots left and right. And when we're on, I think we're on. It's just we can't string stops together. If there are some points and times in games where we can, and we're on at that point, we're on like we are in some of those games, we can string together some wins. It's just there's this team. The theme of this team has just been inconsistency.
Yep,
it's just been inconsistent. There'll be moments at times, that Arizona game sticks out in my head where we are close, we're close, and then we turn the ball over 6 straight possessions in a row. It's just like a huge lapse. I don't know if it's fatigue. I don't know if it's just I don't know. But that's just been a theme of the non-con, some of those games. That's why I want to see, like, when we're playing, let's say, for example, 4 straight games here against Georgia, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Missouri. A&M, Missouri will probably be favored in those games, just because they're not as good this year. What can we close those games out? Can we win? Can we win the games that we're supposed to win? And we have so far, I think. That's why I'm curious to see what that stretch looks like, and even South Carolina, like that 5-game stretch. What is our record coming out of there? Because that's really going to tell us what we can expect moving forward in the conference schedule.
Well,
Because to be quite honest with you, there's no other team in our conference that we'll face that's like a Houston, that's like a
Purdue.
Arizona, Michigan, and Purdue. Like we
Yeah.
will not face another one of those caliber teams.
Those teams
Uh,
are all complete teams. All these other teams have a ton of weaknesses. And frankly, a lot of them are coasting on kind of easy schedules. I mean,
for sure.
Georgia, we talked about Vanderbilt being a little bit of a paper tiger with not having a real marquee win outside of St. Mary's. Georgia's only loss was in overtime to Clemson in the Charleston Classic. Their best win might be a win over Cincinnati in Holiday Hoops Giving in Atlanta, but they've got wins over Florida State, who's once again in another big rebuild. They've got a win over Georgia Tech, who will sometimes surprise people, but probably their best win of the year is a solid 1 point victory over Xavier in that same Charleston Classic. So again, we're going to learn so much about who this Auburn team is going to be over these first 2 weeks. They were pretty beat up coming out of the non-conference, but they got to spend some time at home. They got a big win over Queens College and played their most complete game. Are they going to continue to be that team, or are they going to be the team that loses focus and lets a good team cook them?
did the Big Ten eat our lunch in the SEC? Is that's what's happening? It feels like it's some other sports too. Like, are they spending the big money and that's why this is happening? Like, we were dominant last year, the SEC. The SEC was having this like historic season that was never going to stop. Everybody's a juggernaut. Finally, the SEC, with all their investment, has turned this thing around. We don't have a single team in the top 10. Meanwhile, the Big Ten's got Michigan at 1 in KenPom, 3 Iowa State, 4 Purdue, uh, Illinois at 9. Like, that's pretty good. What's
It,
going on?
it's a combination of the SEC last year built on foundational rosters that were already put together. Um, all of those rosters have now turned over. The key nowadays in this environment is to have a foundation set. You have 2 to 3 year players on your roster, and then you add a superstar or you add a transfer that really elevates your team to that next level. Um, all those teams in the SEC had to turn over a significant portion of their roster, and there's just not enough, I think, out there to replenish at the well, if you will, to get back. And so the SEC had to do that all last year in the offseason, whereas Michigan, Iowa State, Purdue, they basically have the same team as last year, but built on top of that.
And if you look
Uh,
at the best teams in the SEC this season, they're guys that returned most of their core scoring from the previous season. I mean, Alabama brought back LeBaron Philon, Aiden Holloway, and Latrell Whitesell. Florida has Thomas Ho once again kicking butt in the front court. Vanderbilt returned a few guys and brought some new guard in. And Arkansas, they're continuing to ride off of the Kentucky fumes from all the players that their coach brought down from Kentucky. So
Calipari just goes to press conferences, says things that everybody else is already saying because he's Calipari. They're like, "Oh my goodness, Calipari said something crazy today. Genius thing he said." But the same stuff everybody's saying it all over the leagues. He's just one of those guys that media picks up every. Him and Rick Pitino too. Even though I like Rick Pitino a little more, just annoying that they seem to get so much media exposure all the time. What has he even done in Arkansas?
yeah, well, took them to Sweet 16 out of nowhere last year.
yep.
And
What's
they
new with
got,
Arkansas? That's just what they do. They mediocre
it's
for
true.
several years, every season mediocre, and then they just get a good draw and win a game or two.
And so you're right. And that's why looking at this SEC schedule, Arkansas is that game's going to be interesting because they've got a lot of length, they got a lot of size. But we always match up well against Calipari ran teams, right? Because their offense is so stagnant and we always scheme really well against it. So can this team that we have that's maybe one of the worst Auburn defensive teams we've had in I don't know the past 10 years maybe. Um, what can we do against that type of team where we usually match up well against and Tennessee too? Um, that's what's gonna be very interesting to me coming into the conference play is what and even tomorrow, right? Like Georgia leads the league in SEC in scoring right now. And like Ben said, I to agree their schedule's been very meh. They've played a lot of down teams. They've played a lot of weaker opponents, but they have a lot of size. But that size cannot score. So is this going to be like a Houston game or a St. John's game? where we can really pack it in and see if they could beat us from the outside. I'm just so curious to see what this team has learned in the non-conference, how it's going to translate into conference play, because there's so many unknowns still. Like, I still don't have a good feel on what this team can do.
For sure. I mean, we talked a little bit in our preseason pod about expectations for this team. Obviously, not nearly as high as what they were last year. I think last year we were all saying Final Four or bust, right? I think Storman was maybe national championship or bust, and boy, did we get close. This year, we're a little bit more realistic, right? We want to make the tournament for 5 years in a row. We all thought that'd be pretty sweet. We were hoping for maybe one or two stolen wins in the non-con, and unfortunately, we blew all of our big opportunities last year. It was sort of the nightmare scenario of having that amazing schedule. But when I look at this team, I still think we can compete for the double bye. I think a lot every year the SEC has at least two paper tigers that come into the season ranked and wind up having to play 3 or 4 games in a row when it's SEC tournament time because they were just not as good as everybody thought they were, and they ran into the grind of the SEC schedule. When I look at our schedule, there's a 4-game stretch from the end of January through Valentine's Day. You got Texas at home, at Tennessee, Alabama at home, and Vanderbilt at home. You could very easily go 0-4 in that stretch. You could very easily go 2-2 in that stretch. But I think if this team can find a way to go 3-1 in 3 homestands and 1 away game, the big challenge in Rocky Top, that's going to tell us, is this team contending for the double bye? Do we feel safe with our tournament lives in our hands with 4 of the last 7 games on the road?
Yeah.
Is double bye possible? Who else in here?
I truly I agree with Ben. Like, I truly think that we are. I think I text this in our group. Like, I fully expect for us to finish top 6 in the SEC. Like, I still think we have a very good team, and we've shown that in games that we should win. I think that we've learned a lot in the games that we got exposed against the top 5 teams in the country. And one of them we should have won against Houston. That's what shows me that we still have what it takes if we're healthy, if we're playing well. And I haven't seen that from half of the rest of the SEC, which is why I'm thinking like top 6 is very possible. Double bye is very possible.
Yeah, look, the best teams in the SEC, the proven teams that are the best teams in the SEC, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida. All right, we get Arkansas twice. We only got to play Tennessee once. We get Alabama twice. Unfortunately, we got to go to Gainesville and play in the haunted arena down there in Florida. But those are the teams that are, in my opinion, are legit. And they're legit contenders for the top of the league coming out of the non-conference. So the opportunities are all there for us. We're going to have to split time with Alabama and Tennessee. You take a loss to Florida, you take a loss to Tennessee. That doesn't break you if you win the games that you're supposed to win. I think we can beat this Kentucky team at home. I think we can beat Buzz Williams is gone from A&M. There's no reason we shouldn't beat this A&M team at home. I think we can beat this Georgia team on the road.
I didn't realize Buzz Williams was gone. That's great.
Yeah, no,
even though we have Steve Pearl, so maybe
they got Buckyball now. Do you know what Buckyball is?
No, what's that?
He's the coach from Samford.
He was the coach at Mountain Brook High School. He was Patrick Kimes' high school basketball coach at Mountain Brook. Was like the best program in the state of Alabama, won all these state championships. Samford hired him. He took Samford to the tournament, kind of turned him into a little powerhouse there in their conference, and Texas A&M came and grabbed him.
Wow.
They run this like full court press all 40 minutes.
They're 3-and-D, run and gun. It's
early Bruce days with the turn people over, hit the 3. Yeah, that's great.
But on a different level, and they don't have the horses to do it this year. They're pretty down right now, I think, and they just lost their best players. So,
are we the kind of team that you guys have been talking about like how we're kind of inconsistent? Are we the kind of team that beats all the unranked teams and loses to all the ranked teams? Or are we the kind of team that goes up and bites a ranked team, takes them down, and then the next week loses to a stinker? Which one are we? Are we neither?
Well, I don't think we're losing stinkers. That's why I said we're the best team in the country when we don't play the top 10. Like, I think we can get it done.
I think all you got to do is
we beat the bad teams and we lose to the good teams or great teams.
Not even that. Look at what happened in the Players Era tournament. I mean, those were all good teams. Oregon was the team that won the Players Era tournament over Alabama last season, and they were our first round matchup, and they were a size mismatch across the board. And we took care of business against them. We got absolutely run out of the gym by that Michigan team. And all we did was respond with a 9-point comeback win against St. John's in the second half in a game where we very easily could have laid down and lost our one quad one opportunity for a win in the non-con. So I think that tells you a lot about who this team is. I think Ryan's right. Ryan's sort of been hitting on the head. I think we've played 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds in this March's tournament. And yeah, they ran a team that is completely rebuilt out of the gym. We only brought back to Hot Pettiford, so it was always going to be tough.
I'm just now realizing, sorry, gang, for being so ignorant on this podcast. This is how it is. Luckily, we have Ben and Ryan locked in. So the only losses we had this year were to top 10 teams. Every loss was a top 10 team.
And 3 of them were in the top 2 when we played them.
Yeah.
Crazy. And if we'd beaten Houston, that game was great, almost took down number 1 Houston in Houston, right?
No,
and we lost by
Birmingham.
Well, no, that was Birmingham. That was the get back.
Almost lost or almost beat them by 1 point loss there. So how different would the narrative be if we had taken them down?
Huge.
Yeah.
I think hugely different. Yeah.
I know a lot of people were spoiled. We want to win now. I truly do believe that Steven has done a really good job with this team because they were dealt. I'm not gonna say because they built this roster across the board, right? It wasn't just Bruce, but there were slim pickings out there this year for roster build, and they did the best that they could, having to turn over and get 10 players in. To Ben's point, we could have folded like a lawn chair after getting absolutely beaten our brains out against Michigan, and we come back and beat a Rick Pitino coach St. John's team. We've done this quite a few times now, where we go and we lose. We lost to Arizona. We come back. We beat NC State, who's going to be a tournament team. Will Wade. We go and we lose against Purdue. We come out. We win 2 in a row after that. Like this team has responded, and I do think they're well coached. We have a lot of guys that haven't played this level, and it shows. And so that's why I'm like, I still don't know what to expect from this team in conference play, because I know what I know. I know we got guys that have played this level with Keyshawn Hall, Overton, Pettiford. Like, those guys can score. We're gonna have
don't forget Murphy.
Keyshawn Murphy. But everyone else, like I just don't know what to expect.
Here's a question for you that might help me personally as the ignorant one here. So what are some baseline things that are just going to happen during the game? Like last year, Janai was going to get his during the game. There was going to be some blocks. He was going to get like 20. CBM was going to get a circus shot that goes in. Miles Kelly was going to get 2 threes, like per game. So that was like normal. That's going to happen. And then there's the other side when something else would happen. When Janai Broome hit a 3, you were like, "Oh, okay, now we're doing something a little different here." Okay, like what's the norms that you should be seeing every time, and what's something that if it's happening, you're like, "Oh, we're stepping it up." Like that wasn't happening earlier.
So my opinion, you're going to see Keyshawn Hall get to the line 10 plus times a game. He lives inside of the paint. Jackson, you're going to love his game when you finally get to watch enough of it, because he is a bucket getter, and even more than that, he makes the tough 2s and then hits the and 1, which is the guy that
87%. 87. The top 4 guys are all hitting 80% from the free throw line. You must be loving that.
Listen, we're a great free throw shooting team. The second thing that you're going to see every game is an insane pass from Sebastian Williams-Adams. We got a freshman who is 6'8", whose court vision is just as good as Janai Broome. He doesn't quite have the size or the speed of a 4th-year senior, but Sebastian Williams-Adams is already flying up draft boards. If he's a guy that we can stick around for another year, he's going to be a huge part of the front court next season for sure. And you're going to see a freak dunk from Elijah Freeman. Elijah Freeman has been throwing it down. And when you know this team is in good shape, a couple of things are happening. Tahad is dishing the ball well, and Kevin Overton is scoring.
Well, you Storman.
That's well said. I would agree with the majority of that. I mean, Keyshawn Hall is going to get buckets. He's going to get his back to the basket, bully some people down low. What I think you'd be surprised is if like Keyshawn Murphy hits a 3. He's kind of like Janai, like he could shoot it. We hadn't really seen a lot of it, but he's made some shots. If Philip Jovic gets in and starts grabbing some boards and and kind of seeing the game slow down a little bit, that's going to be a surprise. Um, and if Simon Walker gets in and start hitting some shots, like those are all going to be surprises. Um, at this point, like Kevin Overton scoring a lot, it's not a surprise. Um, and just, I think if you start seeing good defense and rebounding consistently, then that's when you know, all right, maybe this team has figured it out a little bit. Because there's been many games where we're just looking around, standing around, and their offensive rebounding, putting it back in. Um, so I would take Ben's summary. I would agree with that wholeheartedly there.
Man,
So
I love it when Ryan agrees with me.
Jovic's like the biggest disappointment, right? In like the transfer portal or like bringing him in. Like, and if he starts like becoming a good contributor, that's a big sign. Who is it? Who is it on the team that you've been a little disappointed? Like, if they turned a corner, would mean that this team could gel into something a little more special.
I don't really know if people knew what to expect out of Jovic because he came playing professionally, so I think people thought, wow, we got this guy. He's from Serbia and Bosnia Herzegovina. Like he's just going to be this Jokic out there. Like the guy
should have gotten a Croat, man.
He's pro basketball over there is completely different than what these guys have done here, and you could tell like he's never played against guys that have played AAU ball before. Like they're just on a different talent level, and so the game got super fast for him, and you could tell by the way he would handle or try to go up with certain shots. It was like that's not going to work here.
The reality is we've got him. We've got Emeka Oporum, who's been out for the year. Abdul Bashir, another JUCO guy.
Wow,
battling illness and injury. Simon Walker still recovering from a broken foot in the offseason as a true freshman. And then Elijah Freeman, the D2 demon, who has really been accelerating through these last couple of weeks and seems to be finding his stride. We got a lot of guys that if we can keep this core together next year, watch out. But I think the difference is going to be how much do those guys grow up into Division I basketball players in the SEC now that the season gets real, now that the second season has begun.
So we went over to the Balkans and we got a little lost, huh? We were supposed to go over to like Slovakia, or we're supposed to go over to Serbia, and we ended up like in Kosovo, Bosnia, where they're not as good. Is that right?
Sure.
Jovic's fine, man. He's fine. He's coming along. Nobody expected him.
He's a long-term, like he's going to be a 2 to 3 year player here.
Yeah, he was a project. The problem is he's been forced to play a lot of 5 because we don't have anybody to back up Murphy. And, I don't think there's a person in Auburn that's not going to tell you we missed on getting a quality backup center this year.
After all the hype and the interview and everything, I have not heard the name Abdul Bashir one time in this preview. That was like your boy. What's going on?
Injury and illness. It's sort of the same thing with Emeka. They're playing their cards real close to the chest about what's going on with them. But like Ryan said, a lot of these guys were brought in to be multi-year dudes. And so I think this year's going to be a lot of growing pains. We knew that coming in with the roster reset, but I still feel confident about the future. And again, I think this team can win 12 of these SEC games. I think they can do it.
We're all victim at some point in time of the Twitter highlight video hype, right? And Bashir, probably one of those, right? Like you see him knocking down threes left and right at the JUCO level, and like that's just it doesn't translate right off the bat at the level in the game, the speed of the game that's being played here. And you can kind of see that early on. And defensively, like not even close. Like to if this was last year's team, he would have never seen the court. So he's just got a long way to go. And a lot of that's not his fault, right? Like Ben said, he was sick in the offseason, never really was able to put on weight, never was really able to go through our strength program. So he's like a year behind already. So I think they're gonna probably medically redshirt him if I had to guess, because I highly doubt we see him in SC play.
All right, boys.
That's going to keep happening more often, right? These players get a little hurt early in the thing, and they lock it up. They got 6 years. They don't need it.
Well, I mean, Steven's big thing has been if you don't play defense, you're not going to play. Caden Magwood has been perfectly healthy, but his lapses on defense have been why Steven Pearl has been reluctant to throw him out there. He needs guys that know where they got to be on defense. But boys, it's time to wrap up the preseason preview here. You've already heard my prediction for this team. 12-6. I'm saying it right now. Auburn is going to go 12-6 in the SEC play. Ryan, what do you think? What's their final record going to be?
9-9.
9-9. All right. Jackson, you
What,
gonna split the difference?
There's 18 games.
18 games.
18-0.
18-0. Jackson with the homer pick.
I get a tattoo if that happened. My goodness.
Okay, there we go. See, that's why I do these things. I got to get Ryan on the record say he's going to tattoo. Let me see. If we lose to every ranked team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses. So what is that? 10-8.
Yeah.
That could be good. 10-8. That makes the tournament, right?
In a coach's first season, like that, like.
I want some more wild predictions because we just really don't know what's going on with some of these teams these days. I want some other wild predictions. My big wild prediction is this year, the Alabama game is March 7th at Alabama. It's the last game of the year. Their shed that they play in is so rickety and old. It's going to snow the night before, and the roof collapses before the game. No one's in there. Everybody's fine, but the roof collapses. Game canceled. You have to play it somewhere else. That's my prediction.
On that note, I'm gonna bounce.
My prediction is with how crazy eligibility has been, Auburn is going to bring back Johni Broome for one more year.
Oh my goodness.
Folks, thank you for joining us. That has been your SEC preview. We're going to be live after the Georgia game tomorrow around 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Central Time. We look forward to seeing you here on YouTube. If you have enjoyed the Jungle Auburn podcast this season, don't forget, like and subscribe. And as we're gearing up for conference play, when the listenership goes up, if you've got someone in your life that loves Auburn basketball as much as we do, send them the pod. We don't take ourselves too seriously here, but we always promise it is going to be basketball first, basketball last, and basketball always, because nobody cares what Jackson had for breakfast.
War Eagle.
War Eagle, boys.
That was a nice outro.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get smooth with it.
Sometimes you got to wrap Jackson up before he goes completely off the rails.
Yeah. I heard snowstorm, broken shed. I was like, I think I'm out.
Oh, can you
tell
imagine?
you, when that goes down, you got to get a tattoo as well.
Hey, Ryan. Chris Thomas, thanks for popping in the chat if you're still here watching. Yeah, hopefully this team gets more and more peaking at the right time. If there's one thing that we can say about this group, they have not peaked too early. I don't think last year's team quite peaked too early, but man, we came out of that non-conference feeling our oats, and I'm so glad that team got their SEC championship and their Final Four banner.
It'll be easier for me to watch going forward, I think. I mean, I've been crazy busy with my schedule, but now that we're on like one of those, the SEC schedules, a little more consistent, right? You're like, okay, either Tuesday or
Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah, it's like if it stays like it's been, then we're gonna get the late game every time. And it's like, okay, I'll get my work done, get my workout in, clean the house, and like 9 o'clock at night, turn on the game, see what we're doing.
Yeah, there you go, man. Well, hopefully you can join us a little bit more.
Know some more narratives,
All right, guys.
All right, fellas. Thanks for bringing it back. We got to get Matt on here at some point, maybe for the Tennessee game.
Doubtful.